Hello and welcome to Nurse Amy Academy. I'm on YouTube. My name is Nurse Amy and I'm here to answer your questions and help you in your journey of becoming a certified nursing assistant and beyond. We talk about healthcare, we talk about the drama in healthcare, and we also talk about, tips, studying tips, and just how to handle some challenges while we're in school, not just only CNA school. So one of the question I got is, and this is not from a student of mine, this is actually from one of my YouTube watchers, friends, and they failed, the PPE skill. If you've passed through my class, I mean, I'm always harping it into the brain of my students. The PPE, personal protective equipment, is a skill, whether you like it or not, whether it's in combination with other skills or is a standalone. In the state that I teach, is not a standalone, it's part of an ensemble skill, but it's still a skill. Just like wearing gloves is still a skill. Just like washing your hands is still a skill. I tell my students this. You need to understand those three things: washing your hands, gloving and ungloving, and PPE. So this person wrote to me that they actually passed everything, but the thing that made them fail the particular skill they were doing was because the sequence of the PPE was wrong. Yes. So something I want to just put out here so you guys understand this, please. There's certain things you shouldn't look. Yes, taking a test, taking an exam can be daunting. It can be scary. It can be stress. I mean, just so much stress. It can be all those things. However, you yourself shouldn't be adding to the soundtrack. So the way I teach my students is this. Please listen, take a note, a pen, something, whatever. And if this helps you, please go ahead and pass it on to other people that struggle with this. This is free info, guys. Well, this is what I tell my students. The PPE protects you, not the patient. Please know that. The PPE, the personal protective equipment, protects you. It protects you, the worker. It protects you, the nurse. It protects you, the CNA. It protects you, the doctor. The PPE is for you, not the patient. Please understand that. So this is what, again, in line with how I teach my students. Since the PPE protects you, see the patient as a COVID patient, especially in this era we are in right now. So anytime you're going to be putting on the PPE, just think, oh, you know what? I have a COVID patient. This patient is going to infect me. Or I have a patient, I just picked COVID. I'm not trying to make light of COVID. I'm not trying to make fun of COVID. Please, for Christ's sakes, I'm in the healthcare. I have worked with COVID patients. There's nothing funny about COVID, okay? But please just follow my line of thought, okay? I'm trying to get a point across here. So if you see that patient as someone who's going to infect you, like, pause, PPE, oh, that means I have to protect myself. So this personal protective equipment is for me. What that means is you must never, ever be in the presence of the patients without a covering. Does that make sense? Hopefully that helps you. So moving forward, if you're going to be tested and he has a PPE in that ensemble of skill, you must have your PPE, gown, gloves, goggles, whatever, all that whole PPE that's given to you before you go to make your introduction. Are you following me so far? So what that means is Before you go in to start your skill and state your skills, you must have your PPE on. Why? Because you're protecting yourself from that patient. That patient is infected. That patient is going to infect you. And if you're not protected, you're going to infect your husband, your wife, your children, your mother, your father, your friends, your colleagues on the floor. Does that make sense? Put that in your brain, somewhere in your mind, so that will help you. That has helped my students. Anytime I'm teaching PPE and you go into the room without any protection and you go in there, I'm like, oh, stay there because you can't come back out. You're going to infect all of us. That's to help them to picture and for them to understand that, oh, I get it. Yes, now you get it. Before you go into that patient's room, and especially for those of you who work in the healthcare, some of you do because you work in the healthcare. Now I have students who've never been in healthcare. They don't understand it. So especially those are the ones I'm talking to now. For those in healthcare, you know, whether you work in a nursing home, you work in a hospital, you work in a facility, in an assisted living, you know, any of those places. Usually when someone is infected and they are in isolation, by the door is usually a place where you put on your PPE first before you go into the room. Usually there's a sign on the door that will say, see the nurse, caution, big in red, before you go into room. So in some places where I've even worked, instead of having those things outside and you going straight into the room, there's an adjacent room that you go into, put on your PPE, and then you use an adjacent door, connecting door, to go into the patient's room, do what you need to do, come back out to that other room, take your stuff out before you come back into the hallway. The reason being, the patient is infected. You need to protect yourself and those around you. So for students, I'm telling you right now, before you go into the patient, to state your skills, like, hi, my name is Amy, I'm your CNA, and I'm here to blank, blank, blank. You make sure you're dressed like a Martian. That's what I tell my students. Make sure you have your PPE on. You must never go into the presence of your patient without having your PPE. Having said that, you do all the skills that you need to do. Close, meaning thank you. Is there anything I can do for you? No, you're fine. Okay. Make sure the bed is low. Your patient is comfortable. There's no pain. Give them the call light. Push back the curtain. And thank you. Have a good day. You leave their presence. And then you take care of your PPE. Because remember, you cannot be in their presence without a PPE. I'm hoping this helps you guys that are going to be taking the state test. This is something I'm harping to my students usually when they are in my class, okay, before they even go to take the state test. And for those that I do coach or tutor before the state test, this is what I tell them. You must never go in to see your patient without your PPE. So for PPE, you must have your PPE on before you go see your patient, and you must close and come out of the room or the presence of your patients before you take off your PPE. So you must never be in the presence of your patient without your PPE, because it's for you, it's not for them. Because students think that the PPE is protecting the patient. It's protecting you and your family and your co-workers. So I'm hoping that this makes sense, and I'm hoping that you got this. I'm really hoping you did, because don't be throwing cheap skills away just because, you know, you didn't do your PPE. And please, please, please remember the sequence. You must have the sequence on, okay? The first thing you want to do, you put the gown on. Okay, put the gown on. So it's GMGG. So you gown, mask, goggles, and gloves. Gown, mask, goggles, and gloves. Does that make sense? And then when you're taking it off, you take off your gloves. Remember, the gloves is soiled. Okay, then you take off your goggles, because you don't want to go with gloved hand and taking off your goggles. Okay, so you take off your gloves because it's soiled. Take off the goggles. Okay, take off your gown, making sure you're not touching anywhere in the gown. Wriggle out of it. Okay, I do have videos showing this. I have PPE and I have, donning and doffing PPE and donning and doffing gloves, okay, and washing hands. I have it in my library of videos, okay. Take that off, and then the last thing is you take off your mask if you're allowed to, and then you go wash your hands. This is not in the presence. This is outside after you have done your skill. So I'm hoping that you followed that and that helped you. And let me know, okay, if you want me to talk some more about it. But be careful, and remember to visit Glam Care Academy, where we'll talk about business. Okay, catch you in the next video.